Hello and welcome to the Trash to Track. Now in this episode I'm going to be looking at this Trix twin EM1 Woodhead electric sent in by Granville, who said he's had this since he was a child and he would like me to restore it to running order. There's quite a bit of fluff on it. Both pantographs seem to be working, they're not rusty. He'd also like me to fit these etched nameplates to it, which I will do. I'll take that off there gently as not to remove any paint. But he did say that one of the wheels is showing signs of Mazak rot, and this peg at the top here, which switches it from 3-rail to overhead line to 2-rail pickup, is missing its wire. So we're going to take this apart, see if we can restore Granville's childhood toy. Now it picks up via plungers. Now the plungers on this end work, but the plungers on that end without the motor do not. So there's obviously something going wrong inside the model. So to take the model apart, there is just one screw, and there indeed is the wheel with Mazak rot. It's breaking up, which isn't uncommon with Trix models of this era. He also sent this copy of the instructions from Trix. It shows you in there about the pantograph plug, which we've got to repair, and how to position it so it picks up from different rail types. Very clever design. It can pick up from 3-rail or 2-rail. There's a big powerful 3-pole motor inside it, and it can also pick up from overhead line equipment. So it's quite a complex model for its age. So there's the oiling points, but we'll get to that when we strip the model down. And there is just one screw holding the body shell on, and that is in the centre. So as soon as I undo this one screw, the body shell should come away. But there are wires connecting the body shell to the chassis because the wire runs go from the pantographs. So we have to be careful. So it doesn't look to be in bad condition. I mean, that motor's in very good condition. The brushes look hardly used at all. But the wiring's quite old and some of the solder joints don't look really good. There's also a lot of fluff and detritus in the body shell. So I'm going to strip it down and have a look and see what we can do. Now, so there's the big 3-pole motor that was on the instructions. Like I say, very good clean condition. So I'm going to undo the screws that hold the bogie frame in place to have a look at these plunger pickups that slide on the rails to see what's going on, because this one isn't picking up any electricity at all. So I'm gathering there's a loose wire here somewhere, and removing these 2 screws will remove that die-cast bogie frame, and then it will just, when I can get this screw out, it should just pull away. There we go. The pickup part comes with it. It's just a friction fit, but there's your problem. One of the plunger pickups is not connected to the wire anymore, as this tab inside here is broken. So we're going to have to look at repairing that. And that plunger part is well and truly stuck in there. It is just a friction fit. There's no screws or glue or anything. It just friction fits between the bogie side frames. There we go, and it just falls out like that when I moved it. So I'm going to have to look at repairing this. I'm not quite sure at the moment how I'm going to do that. But the most pressing issue is to get this wheel out of here, because this is suffering from the dreaded Mazak rot and is unusable. So that wheel, that side, doesn't look to be in too bad a condition. There were 1 or 2 tiny surface cracks on it, but nothing major. But this one here has had it. That is cracked up quite badly. So I will try and save the insulator from the middle, because that seems to be okay, but the wheel itself is no good. So I did wonder now, where the hell am I going to get spares from for this 50-60-year-old model? And I did ponder that for a while. I'm just testing it here, and as soon as I touch that wire in there on the other plunger, it lights up. So that is definitely the problem. It had lost connection. So just looking back through the letter Granville sent, he said he got this model in 1964, which puts it at 61 years old, and must rank as one of the oldest models I've ever worked on. There's some more fluff and that around where those axles were. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop work on this for a minute, because I'm going to have to go online and see if I can find some spare wheels for this, and try and get replacements, because I'm not holding my breath at the moment. But then I found some wheels in a very strange place. I was looking through my spares box and found a couple of old Lima motors, and I bought an old Lima 40 chassis, And Lima motors with the 14mm wheels in, like this one off an old 37, I got the insulated wheels, separated them from the axles, and these are an exact match diameter wise for the Trix ones. They've just got, believe it or not, they've got finer flanges on, considering Lima wheels are considered pizza cutters. So what you need is you need 4 insulated axles, which I managed to rob off the 40 chassis and the 37, because all 4 original wheels were insulated. These ones on the Class 40 were no good because they had a ridge on the back for pickups. But I'm hoping that with 2 Lima axles and some Lima wheels, we may be able to rectify this Woodhead electric. So I'm just cleaning the bogie frames up now with a cotton bud of mess to remove all the old gunk and fluff that was wrapped around there. I give everything a thorough clean, and all around the wiring and that. And then I put this is the Lima axle. The hardest part was getting the non-insulated wheel off the axle. That did take some doing. But with my wheel puller, it did eventually come off. The Lima axles fit into the Trix casing really well, nice and free running. And then the insulated wheels were squeezed on, and the gauge was set with my back-to-back measure. Now, I was saying you do need 4 insulated axles because the originals were insulated. The bogie frame is metal, so just to save any short circuits, I'm putting them back on like for like. So 4 insulated axles on the non-driven bogie. I will paint that them wheels. I'll paint them black before it goes back off to Granville. So I squeeze these on just with finger pressure initially, and then I will check that with a back-to-back gauge. And as you saw there, it spins very freely. But just to help it along, because it's metal in metal, I am going to add a small amount of oil. So that's that done, and I've just taken the bogie frame off the driven bogie now, and I'm checking all the wheels now. Luckily, the wheels on the driven axle all seem to be in very good condition. There's no signs of any cracking or Mazak rot on them, so I'm going to leave them well alone. But when I take this pickup plate off here, my God, the amount of dried, look at this. This is dry lubricant and dirt. This is just manky, and it actually scraped off. It was all over this, where the 60 years worth of grease, oil and grime has gathered on this bogie frame, and you could actually scrape it off with a screwdriver. It really was horrible stuff, and this took some cleaning. I'm very conscious I don't want to break the wires on there, so I put the model on a cloth, and then with some WD-40 contact cleaner, I'm going to work my way around and clean all this. Now look at that. 60 years of rubbish on that bogie frame. So these are going to be thoroughly cleaned. I'm going to remove all of this and then put some fresh lubrication on this model. But this took some doing. I'll speed the footage up, but I cleaned every surface on these bogie frames because it was just, especially the driven bogie, it was just horrible. It was all gathered everywhere. And then the traction tyres I noticed were pretty much had it, so I picked this one off with a screwdriver. Now these weren't so much rubber anymore, but they're solidified, petrified if you like. These were just solid rings of thin plastic now. They reminded me of that little bit of thin plastic you get around the top of Coca-Cola bottles. That's just no good at all. So I need 4 traction tyres now for this model, because that's just not going to do anything. It's just perfectly smooth and also filthy. So another bit of contact cleaner to clean in the wheel grooves where the traction tyres were, because I want to make sure this model's in as good a condition as it can be to go back to Granville. And then again, Lima came to the rescue. The traction tyres off those spare bogies fit exactly. They fit in the groove. They were the right depth and size. Now, what I will say is it has to be the black traction tyres that Lima used on later models, not the horrible clear type. But the black traction tyres fit absolutely superb. And now I've replaced all 4 traction tyres. So it was Lima to the rescue with this model. And now I'm putting this bogie back together. Now you will notice I do this wrong. I will rectify this. What I did was I put the bogie frame on and then sat the pickup plate on the top of the 2 ridges. They should be underneath. It should be sit lower than that. But I did get this wrong, and I do rectify it later on. But yeah, and then I'm just left the footage in to demonstrate how to put the bogie frame back on. So it just slides over the wheels, and there's a screw each end just to tighten up to hold that in place. The only other thing I did, I put some fresh lubrication on the axles and on the drivetrain. I put some of this Fleischmann oil on the axles and put some Labelle 106 and then run the drivetrain so it spread through, because I wasn't going to open the model up. I didn't want to disassemble it too much because 60 years old, and as you can see with these plastic or solidified tyres, I didn't want any of the plastic to break, so I left the bogie frame complete and put fresh lubrication in it from each end. I then cleaned the armature and the commutator, sprayed some WD-40 contact cleaner in there, and then using a cotton bud, just turning it with my hand. Like I said, the brushes are in excellent condition. They hardly look like they've been used. There is years and years worth of life left on those. I then cleaned the gaps out in the commutator to make sure that everything's nice and clean. And then it was time to repair this plate. Now I took still photographs of this. What I did was I disassembled one side of it that was broken, looked through my screw pot and threaded a brass screw through to hold it in place, because I can solder to brass. The original screw wouldn't take solder. Reassembled the pickup plate like that with that long brass screw sticking through the top. Reassembled the plunger, the slide chair, and then what I did was, when everything was in place and I've soldered it up, I'm going to grind that down with a disc in my Dremel. So here's the plunger there with the new brass screw sticking through it. Here's the plate that had broken off. So that goes back in place, and I'm going to actually secure that in place with a little tiny drop of super glue just while I solder it, because then the solder will hold it in place. But it kept moving, so I just put a little bit of super glue underneath it just to hold it where it should be. There is a little groove in the plate itself, but it just kept falling out. And then I put a bit of flux on and then flood the area with solder so that the plate and the screw are soldered together solidly. And then I could attach the wires to this, and in theory it should work, because the brass will conduct the current from that plunger chair. I'm just running around it there with a soldering iron. And then once that had cooled down, I clean off any excess flux and dirt with a cotton bud soaked in mess, just to make sure everything's clean. And then, as I said, I got my Dremel, cut the top of that screw right down, and the screw head as well underneath was filed down with the Dremel, and I will show you that shortly. But now that's all done, it's on there, and I'll be able to solder that, and that should prove a good connection. And I'm just testing to make sure the plunger still works. And this is it when I'd grind the top off, the one at the bottom there, and soldered the wires back on. And now I can reassemble the dummy bogie. I can reassemble this now, and again I did this one wrong as well. I put the plungers on the wrong place, but I'm just testing that now with the battery, and you can see the cab lighting up and the motor spinning. So I'm happy that we've managed to repair that plunger pickup on the dummy end. So that is good news. So it is just a case of reassembly now. The dummy bogie frame was also given a spruce up, although this wasn't nowhere near as bad as that drivetrain one, where all the grease had been flicked on it over the years. So I just upend the chassis, and then the bogie frame goes on, and again I put the pickup plate in the wrong place. Once that was done, I'm just making sure everything's turning and spreading. I put some Labelle 106 on the drivetrain, so I was just spreading it through the gears, and then the wires were tidied up and the body shell was replaced. When I could get it on, I had to make sure all the wires were clear and free, and then I had to line the holes up to make sure everything sat correctly. And then once it was all in place, I tightened the screw up. And this is when I realised my mistake with the bogies, because I went to do a track test and it was just sitting on the plunger pickups. The wheels weren't actually touching the rails, so it was rocking. So that's when I realised that I'd put the bogies on incorrectly. So I just take it back off the track and upend it, and then undo the screws securing the bogie frames in place, and then slide that pickup plate back underneath where it should be. There are two like lugs on the inside of the bogie frame, and I'd put them on top and they actually should be underneath the bogie frame when the model's upside down, closer to the chassis. Just like that, and now it brings them in line. So I did both bogies because I'd done both of them incorrectly, and then re-secured the bogie frames with the screws. And now when I put it on the track, it should, not only should it be fully working, but it should sit on the track correctly. And you can see there, that's sitting quite a lot lower, and it's just as it should be. So putting the model on the track, it does indeed run, and it runs really well. So off camera, I repaired that pin in the roof by soldering a new wire to it and then onto the pantograph. And I also fitted the etched nameplates that Granville supplied. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch up some of the paintwork where it's been chipped over the years. Just using round match black acrylics just to touch the bogies up. And then I used round match BR standard green to touch the parts upon the body shell. And when it had dried, it looked okay, to be honest. But I didn't want to send it back with the amount of chips on it. For a 61-year-old model, it really doesn't look too bad at all, I don't think. Especially now it's got Lima wheels. I know Lima wheels are quite coarse, but they're not as coarse as the Trix ones. And it will indeed run on code 100 track and through points without riding up on the check rails. So just using a flat brush and some round match paint, just touching up those obvious scratches and play wear. Just on the sides there. I mean, the lining and numbering is all right. That doesn't need anything doing to it. And on the other side, you can see that big silver line there on the body side. That was all touched in. And when the paint dried, it was a very, very close match. You couldn't notice the touch-up marks in the green, especially unless you got really close to it and knew what you were looking for. So I'm really pleased we've been able to rectify and resurrect Granville's 61-year-old childhood toy, this Trix twin EM1 from the Woodhead route. And I don't think it looks too bad. Both pantographs are in really good order, and it runs really well. It's even got lights, which for a 60-odd-year-old model is very, very unusual. So I just turned it around. You can see both sides of it, and it does look really, really nice. I think I do like this model. So I took it to Trains View and gave it a spin on their test track because it's DC only, and it run. As you can see, it's a lovely, powerful, strong runner, and it did a few laps in there in both directions before I sent it back off to Granville. If you've got an engine or anything you'd like to see featured in a future episode of Trash to Track, please email me at dansmodelrailways@gmail.com. Have a look and get it sent over. Who knows, it may even feature in an episode all of its own. So I'll leave you with some shots of it running around Trains View's test layout. Obviously I've muted the background noise because it was busy in the shop on this day. And the EM1 did draw some admiring glances as it was running around. And you got to be honest, as it's running around like that, you would not think this model was 6 decades old. It baffles me how old this model is, to be honest. But thank you very much for watching Trash to Track again. Please like, share and subscribe. And I will catch you all in the next video. Bye for now.